Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim, Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, Assalamu-alaikum, Jiayanu, Pakhairagale, Ni hao, Chunashumme, Washmale, Ohai Gonzaimes, Guten Morgen, Hola, Bonjour, Privyet, Kaifa Hal, Hale Shuma Chatore, Ahlan Wasalan, Marhaba, Buna, Mucho, Gracias, Swabia, Bhalli Kareaya, and thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into PETB World. You're watching World This Morning alongside Shahzad Ehsan Khan. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope and pray that everybody out there in 46 different countries is doing absolutely perfect. It might not be morning time as of now, but over here in Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, it's a very good morning on behalf of the entire PTV World team as well. Ladies and gentlemen, first things first, and that is that obviously, for the last week, I was having a great time while I was driving to work, and it was because of the fact that unfortunately, the schools and universities were shut down and the kids weren't going, and it was all because of the fact that we had to take these stringent measures so that COVID kind of rests itself. And since we all know that the positivity ratio was going up, so the strict measures were supposed to be taken as well. But today, finally, alhamdulillah, the kids are going back to school and universities as well. So for every parent who are out there, please make sure that your child is carrying a mask and a sanitizer, and you kind of prepare them, you guide them that, hey, you know what, no matter what happens, you're not supposed to take off your mask. So please make sure that you do that. And for all of those kids who are listening to me as of now and they're supposed to go to school, even though I know that you might be late, I mean, if you're still at home, but please make sure that you follow whatever your parents are going to tell you. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, it's a fine Thursday morning over here in Islamabad, and I think that the weather's opening up. We're moving, it's a transition period towards winters. Everybody's loving the weather these days. Everybody's kind of relaxed because everybody knows, hey, you know what, the electricity bill is going to come down. I think my father's really very happy about it, and I'm happy about it too because it's going to be lesser stress from my father, and I'm alhamdulillah fortunate enough that I live with my parents. Even with my choice and with their will as well. Otherwise, it would have been a little difficult. But yeah, one way or the other, your father or whoever pays the bills, ladies and gentlemen, is very happy whenever the winter is approaching. And then obviously within this season where we have this transition, so the geysers aren't turned on. And I'm sorry to say all of this because I belong to a very common household, a very normal, modest household. And these are the things which we worry about most of the time. So for all of those people who are out there, good morning. We're about to, we hope that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. Now, very quickly, coming down towards what I wanted to talk about. Now, every morning, ladies and gentlemen, when we get up, we have this beautiful opportunity given to us by Allah Almighty to make sure that we kind of earn a good life over here, a good name over here, and earn a good life, even for the life after death as well. So please make sure that you raise your hands, you pray to Allah Almighty every single day and ask for whatever you want in life, because with Allah, ladies and gentlemen, there's no boundaries. You can ask for whatever you want. And I seriously take this responsibility, and it's because of the fact that when you're given an opportunity, if you do not use it, if you do not seize that opportunity, you might regret it later. So every single day, there's one thing which I tell myself, and that is, and I would rather say it in Urdu as well, and then I will translate it for people in English, and that is that, Shahzade, tujhe Allah ne bada dena hai. Just by saying this, I have this feeling, I have this belief that Allah Almighty is never going to abandon me and that I'll always be there to pray and ask for whatever I need from Allah Almighty only. So please make sure that you keep that in your mind. But other than that, let's move towards science, because science always helps us, ladies and gentlemen, in kind of progressing. And when we talk about information technology, when we talk about medicine, whenever we talk about chemicals, whenever we talk about anything, one way or the other, we have to come back to the very basics of science as well. And the reason why we are picking up on science is because it happens to be World Ozone Day today, ladies and gentlemen. While we were growing up, because this issue has been here for long, since 1985 or 1987. That's the time when people started to talk about it as well. And then moving on, moving further, there was Montreal Protocol, then there was Vienna Convention, and then there was the Kigali Amendment. And it is so hard for students to kind of understand that today we thought that, hey, you know what, on this day, what we're going to do is that we are actually going to learn about ozone layer itself, how does it protect us, and how are we kind of contributing in the depletion of the ozone layer. But the good news was that as soon as COVID, unfortunately, but yeah, I think that the good news in terms or in context of the ozone was that because of COVID, everything was under lockdown. There were no cars out on their streets, the industry wasn't working, and there were a lot of people who were just at home. So the ozone healed. Hey, and that's something which we were working towards as well. What are those chemicals which actually contribute to the depletion of the ozone is something which we'll be talking about. What is the status of ozone layer as of now? Which regions are most affected? And what are those countries who do not comply to the Montreal Protocol, even though that they have been the members of the United Nations and they have signed the Montreal Protocol? So that's something which we'll be talking about. And without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who happens to be, I would love to call him environmental scientist, and he happens to be from Islamic University as well. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Dr. Muhammad Irfan Khan. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Thank you. Walaikum assalam.
So thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much. And you know, I never thought that I'm actually going to kind of come across professors and I'll be asking questions, you know, because in my classroom I never ask questions. Ladies and gentlemen, I thought that, you know, hey, you know what, I'll probably ask my friend. I was too shy to ask questions. But yes, you know, when you're given an opportunity, you have to seize it. Alongside Dr. Muhammad Irfan Saab, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by the Deputy Director of Pakistan EPA as well. She happens to be Ms. Sadia Munawwar. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Walaikum assalam, a very good morning to you as
Thank
well.
you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you. And
pleasure.
before I ask you any question, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to share a brief report with all our viewers in 46 different countries. So please go ahead and take a look, and once you guys will be back, we'll have a deeper understanding of what ozone layer depletion basically is. Let's do this. Good morning.
International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer is being observed every year on the 16th September. In 1994, the UN General Assembly adopted a resolution which proclaims 16th of September as a World Ozone Day. This day offers an opportunity to spread awareness among people about the depletion of the ozone layer and find possible solutions to preserve it. Ozone layer is a thin shield of gas which protects all life on Earth from harmful radiations from the sun. The Montreal Protocol, a multilateral environmental agreement of UN Environment Programme, is working to protect the ozone layer by taking actions to control total global production and consumption of substances that deplete it. The theme of this year's World Ozone Day is Montreal Protocol, keeping us, our food and vaccines cool. It highlights the remarkable role of the Montreal Protocol over the past years. COVID-19 pandemic has hit the entire world, but despite difficult situation, the Montreal Protocol continues to do its work. Countries are meeting their commitments and the ozone layer and climate system are being protected. Ozone depletion highly affects climate, so different conferences are also held worldwide to cope with the challenges of climate change caused by ozone depletion. World Ozone Day spreads awareness among the stakeholders, including industries and the general public, play a vital role in protection of the ozone layer.
Hey, so we definitely over here while sitting, we hope that, you know, you've actually got the understanding of what we will be talking about today. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk about all the stakeholders, where the general public is there, the industry is there, and for all of those people who kind of play a role in making sure that the ozone layer stops to deplete. And I think that for the developed countries, the program is till 2030, and for the developing countries, it's till 2040 as well. But Dr. Saab, you know, we'll start the conversation with you. How does the ozone layer look as of now? You know, let's talk about that first of all.
As of now, as you said earlier, because of some other reason, not good also.
Yeah, obviously, unfortunately.
It's a little bit in a what you call reclaiming condition, but it's not all over yet.
Okay.
It is over there because as far as the reduction in the use and production of the CFCs, the ozone depleting substances is concerned, yes, that has definitely declined.
Okay.
Which were in fact causing the hole in the ozone layer, that have been declined after the Montreal Protocol. I think that's the only UN level agreement signed by 197 countries, all members. So that's the only one, I think, universal agreement, you can say it.
True.
So by saying this, there were certain, if you look after this 1994, 2000 and 2008, there were 3 years where in the Dobson unit, its level gone beyond 100. So in 1987, when it was signed, it was 225.
Beyond 100 or below 100?
No, below 100.
Okay, below 100.
It was 225 when it was signed. So there's no. Now today, this year, I think 109 and something like that.
It's gone up then.
It's gone up again because activity again started. The lockdown that we have faced last year in the March, it's not that much now.
Exactly.
Industry is in action.
We moved towards smart lockdown.
Smart lockdown, and the industrial activity is coming on here. But I think the good thing is that we have controlled the production of the CFC and freon gases that you might have realized. Our refrigerants, air conditions, they are coming like chiller-based technologies and instead of these freon gases and CFCs, you can find even in our local market now
Hydrocarbons.
refrigerator with the CFC free refrigerator, air conditioner CFC free, all these things. Or
Even
and
our body
there are
sprays.
many others, even the body
Yeah, yeah,
sprays. Yes, again the tube system is coming back again, so that has really improved.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. But again, you see, the level of activity is increasing around the world. Population is increasing. The substances that deplete, they are still in use.
True.
We have controlled the formalized industries, but like many developing world, there is a non-formal industrial sector which are producing, like we have also in Pakistan,
Yeah.
in the streets and other area doing a lot of other thing producing. So that is not on any record, there is not only under control, and they are still what
And
you
it's
call
happening,
passively they're contributing. The big industrial setup, yes, we have controlled it. So that's why we are just somewhere. So my answer is yes and no, both at the time.
Yes and no, both at the same time as well. So, I think I would probably label it as 50-50, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen. But moving on, because I think it's about time that we kind of take the perspective of a government representative who's actually going to let us know that how Pakistan is kind of contributing towards towards stopping the depletion of the ozone layer as well, and how the organizations are working within Pakistan, and what kind of conversation are we having with the rest of the world. And there's a reason, because when we come down to the depletion or talk about the depletion of ozone layer, ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan happens to be one of those countries who actually does not kind of contribute towards the depletion of ozone layer. But when we talk about Pakistan as a developing country, and that's how I want to talk about Pakistan, because only when we're going to talk about ourselves as the developing countries, we will be developed, inshallah, one day as well. So what I want to talk about is that for developing industries, for developing countries, industry is really important, and to make sure that that people of the country are actually given opportunities to have as many industries as they want. But God forbid, under the umbrella of Montreal protocols, there are certain restrictions and there are certain measures which have been taken by each and every member country of the United Nations that, hey, you know what, you can do this, but you cannot do this. But for the countries who actually who are not contributing, I think that there should be a change, and people need to come together and they need to kind of voice their concerns as well. Hey, you know what, you kind of need to lift this ban and we should be able to do this as well. So Ms. Hadia, moving on to you, how would you explain how Pakistan's kind of contributing towards making sure that the depletion of the ozone layer stops?
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk on this very important issue. I think Pakistan has taken a lead in the global community and also as well regionally in controlling or playing its role in the protection of the ozone layer. I think when we talk about all the technical aspects, the HFCs and CFCs, I think it's very important to understand what exactly is the ozone layer, why is it important. So ozone layer is kind of, it's like you could say a sunscreen of our Earth, our planet Earth, and it protects us from very dangerous ultraviolet radiation, and also protects the planet Earth from getting extremely warm. So it plays a role in climate change mitigation, and it also has very good health benefits for us. Having said that, there are some parts of our world that are not adequately covered by, say, the ozone layer. That includes the South Pole. The Antarctic region does, I mean, it's not exactly an ozone hole. It's sort of, you could say, the ozone layer is very thin near the South Pole. As a result of that, I don't know if many of the audience, I'm pretty sure many audience would know that there are some countries such as New Zealand where you cannot sit out in the sun for more than 8 minutes because the ozone layer is very thin there. And you expose yourself to ultraviolet radiation, and ultimately, which is a risk
results
factor
in
for
skin diseases
cancer.
and a lot of other problems.
Yeah. So in fact, when I was in New Zealand, I remember we were told in our classes that more than 80% of New Zealand sheep has skin cancer because of the ultraviolet radiation, which is a very high rate. So the ozone layer, ozone is found in our, you could say, the lower levels of the atmosphere. So which is where we humans interact, where we have the lower layer of the atmosphere, which is called troposphere. That is right from the ground that I'm standing on up till, you could say, the Mount Everest. So that's the troposphere. Any ozone found in this layer is not really very beneficial for human health as well as for ecosystems as well. But ozone layer found in the stratosphere, which is in higher level of the atmosphere.
Yep.
It's where if you fly frequently, that's where your aeroplane would be flying. So ozone found in the stratosphere is really good ozone, and which we really need. The problem with ozone is that it gets depleted very, very quickly. It's so easy to deplete it. One molecule of CFC destroys up to 1,000 molecules of ozone. So which is why CFCs are a concern, HFCs are concerned, HCFCs are concerned, and these are technical terms. I hate to use these technical terms for it because I would be...
Chlorofluorocarbons, yeah.
So in very basic language, these are chemicals that contain chlorine, and chlorine, the problem with chlorine and bromine is that when they go up in the atmosphere, in the presence of sunlight, ultraviolet radiation, they destroy good ozone. So I think Pakistan, in terms, now coming back to the question regarding Montreal Protocol, I think Pakistan has taken a lead as a developing country because it's very challenging, as you already pointed out, that we have limited industries, we have limited resources to start with, and then playing a role that is equivalent with developed countries. Exactly. So yes, Pakistan has done a very responsible, played a very responsible role in that respect, and it has not only ensured that it does not produce any of those harmful ozone depleting substances, it has also ensured that in I would say controlling the amount of ozone in the ambient air. Ambient is the air that we breathe in.
Yes, yes.
So Pakistan will also ensure that the amount of ozone present in the ambient air is as per quality standards. Yeah, as per how.
Yeah.
For which we have set quality standards, the National Environmental Quality Standards, and EPA does monitor that. We have set standards, and we do also have technology, and we do monitor on daily basis 20 hours. In the case of Islamabad, we monitor regularly how much ozone is present in the atmosphere.
In the Islamabad only, I think that things are promising for Pakistan, alhamdulillah, whenever we talk about in terms of ozone as well, because obviously we are not a major contributor. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, there's a very important aspect, and we see the world moving towards the solutions as well. For example, we have electric cars coming in as well, and the world's moving on to it as well. Not just that, just a few days ago, there was this experiment of an electric air transport system as well, or probably, if anybody would like to call an electric airplane, ladies and gentlemen. So things are moving towards that. But I want you to understand that, this depletion of ozone layer kind of have an impact on the ecosystem, and not just on the ecosystem, the climate change and all of these challenges which are faced by the world as of now. So how do we kind of bring it to halt? Because, sir, what we have seen is that, just because of COVID-19, the world went under a lockdown, and in a matter of days, it started to heal and recover. We have been talking about the ozone depletion since 1985 or since 1987, where officially in 1994, on the 16th September, was actually recognized as the day where we were going to celebrate or observe World Ozone Day. Why can't the world come together when we know that the impacts are so harsh that we have seen climate change, we have seen the temperature rise to probably, where they were somewhat around 40 degrees centigrades in areas, now they've risen to 50 degrees centigrades as well. So how do you think that the world can come together? Because Kali Amendment is one of those amendments where the world did come together. All of those people who were a party to Montreal Protocol came together, and they were like, hey, you know what, we need to do this. Let's do this together. And this is what Antonio Guterres says, that he says that people have the power to change once they come together as well. So please go ahead.
This is where the struggle between the devices and desires. So what desire you have, and looking at the COVID scenario and getting around the cleaner and better environment, that clearly confirm that the anthropogenic impact on the environment, the human activities they're having it. So it means what we have to control the human.
Yeah.
So there are means of controlling human, that may be a regulatory, the EPA is doing something like that. Then we have a technological control over it. Then there is very important, which is moral and ethical basis of controlling anything.
Yeah.
That all religion, the fear of something almighty and something like that, and you don't do this something like that. And we say this is the basis for any kind of your ethical consideration. So looking at that, when we say that how we can control, and why don't the world come around on the same table, coming back to her. So again, you see there is a developed world. They have developed, they enjoyed those other things.
Yeah.
and the huge population of the world, more than I think that the 3/4 of the whole world, they are struggling to achieve that level of what you call the lifestyle.
Yeah.
So they say that when you was developing, there was no ozone and there was no like thing. Now these are times, and you were saying.
I was about to ask this.
Yes.
In fact, on a very lighter note, I think I'm going to say this as well, because you get, whenever you talk about something, there's going to be a divide. There'll be people who'll be like, hey, you know what, you guys is making sense and you're saying it right. Then there will be another group and they'll be like, hey, you know what, while you were developing, while you wanted to become whatever you are as of now, there was no ozone, there was no problem. Now when we want to develop, you want to hinder our development or the development of our country, why should we listen to you? Because we obviously lag behind in research and all of that facilitation. We didn't have it, but obviously now we are moving forward. So, there are always two mindsets.
Yes, there is a divide. There is a divide, no doubt. Even
And so you can even
among
control
the
humans
among
by
the
their
intercourse.
wives as well. Probably you can ask them. कि इसको समझाओ यार, नहीं deodorant नहीं इस्तेमाल करना या please.
Deodorant इस्तेमाल करना है, ये कौन सा AC लेके आना है. And that kind of thing. I think when we come to there, then again it's come to a trade-off or a compromise between economic, social and environmental or ecological things. So within this trade-off, what we are tackling these nowadays with kind of sustainable development indicators. And sustainable development index has been developed. When you say sustainable development, people think only environment. But so no. It has to be all together with economic aspect.
Exactly. There's
The
17
social aspect.
sustainable development goals.
Sustainable development goals. So looking at all together in a holistic, in a big picture, not just in one component or one segment like this, then it comes to it has to be compromised. And then very important role again is the governance, which playing all these sustainable development goals, they are linked with the governance. And the governance is basically your policy, your legal and the institutional framework. If you have a policy, you must have a supporting legislation. If you have legislation and the policy together, you must have capable institutions, not just institutions.
Exactly.
Capable institutions that can implement your policy through the instrument of law.
True.
So that's very important. When you talk about water quality, you talk about air quality, you talk about waste management, whatever you can think, you need a policy, you need a law, you need an institutions.
True.
So here is basically the problem. We say no, if we do this kind of thing, then GDP will be affected.
Yeah.
And then we say when your GDP will be affected, then you will have to have a budget for your health, for education. If you can improve your health, maybe your budget for your health services can be reduced.
Exactly.
So it's the other way around. But as a result of a healthy population, what you can give a more productive population.
True.
That
That's
can
true.
better. Instead of spending a lot of money on the hospitals and developing healthcare facilities, why don't you provide preventive healthcare services?
And this makes
And
absolute sense.
sense.
Yeah, and because there will be lesser burden on hospitals as well, so there will be lesser amount
will
of
be no
money
queue in
spent
the
on the
morning in the
hospitals.
hospitals and-
People will be more healthier, and which is why, sir, I've actually talked about it on our programs as well, that we really need to kind of bring our parks to life, and then obviously we will see that the hospitals
come out of the video
pressure on
games and go to the
hospitals are going
parks.
low down as well. But sir, what do you think any single individual can do at their place? Because everybody needs to come together. It needs to be public-private partnership. And there's this interesting concept which just popped up in my head, and that is, since you are here and you're talking about policy, so I would want you to kind of ask Ms. Sadia about the policy, if it's in place or not. But that's the question number 2. So I'll give you that opportunity. But number 1, what can an individual do to make sure that, hey, you know what, he's not hurting the ozone layer?
You see, the individual must realize these days, because you are facing like the theme of today's
Keeping us, our food and
us
vaccines good.
being all of us, and then food. Without food,
And then
none
vaccines
of us.
as well, sir.
Vaccine is coming over.
Because
all the keeping food, because the ultraviolet radiation, if coming down due to the thinness of the ultraviolet, they will destroy your agriculture system, your crop, because photosynthesis is affected. And by destroying your agriculture productivity, you are ultimately going to affect your food.
Exactly.
And why they put this word vaccination over here? You see, at the lower level, like Sadia was saying, on the Mount Everest level over here, it's a poison, it's a pollution, it's called. But at the same time, if you look at the symptoms of the ozone at the ground level, 90% the same like of COVID.
Okay.
You will confuse whether it's a ozone infected or it's a COVID infected. But COVID also play a role as a disinfectant, as a sanitizer. So if it is in place in the upper atmosphere, they can disinfect your upper atmosphere.
My mother would say,
That's
Allah
blood.
ke kaam mein koi maslahat hoti hai. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
in that case, the single person, I think, if realize that it is impacting my food security over here, so that realization or sensitization can bring some kind of a behavioral change. So that is sensitivity of these things. So then at the personal level, like deodorant and using what kind of air conditioner, if I'm going to buy in the market to buy something, I'm asking about what kind of refrigeration, what kind of air conditioning these going.
Yep.
This one 100,000, this is
Yeah,
90,000. I say okay, 90,000 better, but I say no. This is here. I have to realize from my own pocket, it's not something I'm paying extra. It is something I'm paying to reduce the impact of this ozone or ozone depleting substances,
probably adding on to
and
that.
that can adding on to my food security.
Exactly.
So that's the sensitivity and the realization at the individual level that can help.
Exactly, and thank you very much for saying that and raising this point as well, sir, because half of the time when we go to probably buy a refrigerator or an air conditioner, the first thing we ask is kitna thanda karta hai bhai? This is the most common question because you're paying so much money. And I certainly have never ever come across anybody who went to purchase an air conditioner or refrigerator and ask them that, how do you think, how much it is going to contribute towards the ozone depletion? I think that's the question which everybody needs to ask. And since there are newer technologies coming in, so obviously, there's a check. And, as Dr. Saab mentioned, that with the formal industries, obviously the check and balances are there. But now I'm going to give Dr. Saab a chance to ask Ms. Sadia about the policy, if it's in place or not. Sir, please go ahead.
But I would also, you're equally, I'm a public servant, so I'm equally open to questions from you or from anyone
That's
from
wonderful.
one of the audience.
Which is why I wanted to give Dr. Saab a chance because it's only three of us and I'm asking questions anyways. Yeah, please,
Sure,
sir.
sure.
You see, I know because I've been involved from the last 3 decades.
Yeah.
We have a plethora of policies and plans
Everything.
and everything.
But we
Where
lack
with the
implementation.
Yes.
Yeah. So
We
I
have-
think that's a simple question.
We have not only the climate change policy in 2012, we have a very comprehensive document that explains a framework for implementation of policy. Very comprehensive document giving short-term, medium-term, long-term targets and everything something like that.
Yep.
But when it comes to implementation, and there is institutions. And again, I think I don't blame institution only in that way, because the state sponsorship and the state backing of the institution, developing their capacity. Capacity does not mean a training course.
Exactly.
Capacity mean human, technical, technological, financial, and all kind of.
True.
So if you look at all our EPAs, the regulatory bodies, if you look at their strength being the environmental inspectors, you go to Sindh, the big city of Karachi, hardly on 7 or 8. How many we have in Islamabad? One inspector.
One, and that's
for Islamabad.
And imagine the challenges. I mean, we have so many complaints coming in.
That's what I was coming down to. So,
So-
let's talk about the challenges
Yeah,
EPA is facing and then come down to what Dr. Saab has said that, we do have a plethora of a lot of policies, but we lack implementation.
exactly.
Why?
Well, I can only talk about the regulatory authority, which is EPA, not any. I would particularly only talk about
will
my own
respect that,
institution
yeah.
because as a regulator, we do have a lot of challenges. We do foresee a huge, I would say, responsible role of EPA within Islamabad, because I said Islamabad earlier because after the 18th Amendment, we've been confined to the territorial jurisdiction of
Yes.
ICT only, Islamabad Capital Territory. So that's why Pak EPA is particularly responsible for Islamabad Capital Territory's environmental protection. So I would first sort of, let me just, get back to a comment you earlier made and Dr. Irfan also referred to, that why do we have, instead of spending so much on healthcare, why can't we sort of
Bring our
spend
parks
that
to life,
towards preventive health? So, if we invest in environment, if we do get a lot of funds in environmental protection, that is sort of like investing in protecting public health, because let's say, for example, since it's ozone day, let's also talk about ozone. So, for example, if there is a car that is emitting a lot of NOxes, nitrous oxides, and there's a factory which is emitting a lot of volatile organic compounds, they mix together and they produce oxygen in the lower atmosphere, and that ozone in the lower atmosphere, and ozone in the lower atmosphere and the ground that we breathe in, what that does to us, as Dr. Irfan referred earlier, it causes asthma-like problems, it causes breathing problems within the plants, it causes issues such as let me not be too technical, but I know a lot of people do know
Like a
about
cause problem to
photosynthesis.
your health.
Yeah, exactly. Crop as well, and also plant sensitivity, whereas
True.
protection measures. So if we invest in, let's say, if Pakistan Environmental Protection Agency has its own vehicular emission standards, but honestly speaking, we do not have the tools to sort of go and check each and every car, and we don't even have the human
Gadgets.
resource, to be
Exactly,
honest.
and
I
we
mean,
do not
which is-
even have
which
the
is-
human resource for that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's sort of I do feel a bit embarrassed saying,
No, you don't have to.
like accepting this at the public, but I think that is one of the challenges, and if we do not talk about it, I don't know how we will solve the issues.
Exactly.
So we have only one inspector, and imagine one person going around in Islamabad and checking the 2 lakh entries of from Rawalpindi every single day. That is not humanly possible. So I think when it comes to protecting human health, if we can invest more in, let's say, environmental protection, if we have more inspectors, if we have more tools, if we also, I think, invest in institutional capacity building. I mean, you
Exactly.
already talked about human resource, but also the institutional strengthening, the governance structures.
Exactly.
So I think that goes a very long way in sort of ensuring that the public has
Interest.
a good, and it also has good health and also good quality of life. As we see in the developed
Exactly.
world.
And this is something which everybody wishes for as well, ladies and gentlemen. But inshallah, in days to come, we will be there. The direction is right. We are on the right track as well. We have people like Dr. Muhammad Irfan Khan Sahab. We have people like Sadia Munawwar Saiba as well, who are contributing with their knowledge, which they have acquired over the years as well. But it's about time that the leadership kind of understands that these are the challenges which the world faces, and we really need to do something about it. Prioritize so that we have a healthier population who's actually going to bring good name to Pakistan as well. But thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us. Wonderful to have you on this day as well. But ladies and gentlemen, for everybody who's out there, we're actually going to head out towards a short break. And once you guys will come back, as I say, that research, ladies and gentlemen, is very important. This is something which I kind of got to know when I was in my university days as well, when we used to study about different subjects. I would always kind of go and look for other sources of information. And once you research, that's when you actually become a very learned man. That's when you actually sit down with somebody and have a conversation. There are people out there in the world, ladies and gentlemen, just for the sake of research, they're traveling the world because they have a question in their mind and they want an answer. And we will be in conversation with such a soul, with such a man, right after a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Good morning. Have a great day. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for everybody who just got tuned into PTV World. You watching World this morning alongside Shahzad Hassan Khan. Ladies and gentlemen, earlier we were observing the World Ozone Day, which happens to be today as well. And we officially started to observe it back in 1994 as well. But other than that, now we are actually going to move towards where I gave the link before actually heading out towards a short break as well, that research in life is really important. And then there are people, when they have questions popping up in their minds or heads, what they do is that they kind of decide to travel to get answers for themselves as well. We're very lucky that we've actually been joined by such a traveler today, ladies and gentlemen, who happens to be over here in the studio with us. We will definitely ask him what made him travel, because he wanted to have a deeper understanding of how communities behave, how they work, how they function. And when all of these questions started to pop in his head, he started to travel. He first went to Europe, and now what brings him to Pakistan is something which we will be talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, we're lucky that we have been joined by Visili Nokhrin. Hi, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Alaikum assalam. I'm good.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you over here. And since we are actually emphasizing on research as well, so this is something which made you travel, right?
Yeah.
So what was that question which bugged you so much that you thought, hey, you know what, I'm going to find out the answer myself?
Well, I'm not only looking to answer questions and collect data. I'm also looking to share what I've.
Go ahead, share. Which is why we have you on our show today. We want you to share.
So what I have, what I've done is I study physics back home.
Yep.
So what I've outside of my studies, I wanted to answer the question of why the world looks like it does, and how it works.
Yeah.
And this.
But why couldn't you just settle with however the world looks like? I mean, it's people like us who never asked any other question. We were like, okay, we're born in this world. We've been given a chance to live a life, and it's okay. Whatever way the world looks, let it be like that. So
no.
Why didn't you settle down with that in the first place?
And this is a common mindset.
Yeah.
But I see like a lot of bad things, and I
and they disturb you and they bother you, and then you're like, hey, you know what? It's about time that we change that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But then, as you look into deep and get the knowledge, it's not as straightforward. So many things are for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's important to understand this.
So it starts to make sense once
Yes.
you start to look for answers. So first things first, you actually went all over Europe as well, right?
Well, as a teenager.
As a teenager, you did, and that was the time when you started to look for all the answers as well by yourself.
No. This started more like 10 years ago in my 20s.
All right. Wow, that's wonderful. So you in your teenagers, you went to Europe. How was it for you to travel all over the Europe? You may share that with us.
This was really interesting. I was with my family, with my stepdad and my mother and our dog. We were in this like really old, really crappy Volvo 245.
Yeah, I know that car. I'm not going to say that what I said off the record. It's like a funeral car, though. Yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Exactly. So no AC. And we.
I think climate change wasn't that bad, when you were in your teens, right?
Exactly. It was.
We just talked about it.
It was colder back then.
Exactly. So how was it traveling all over Europe?
No. So we carred like around. We went down through Germany and Autobahn and Denmark to Germany and then to Italy and southern Italy and then followed the coast back through France and Spain and Portugal and visited Monaco and Liechtenstein so made this big trip, which I at the time I thought this was so like annoying to sit in the car and boring and
since you were a teenager and then you were traveling with your parents as well, and then there was a dog. I don't know whether you loved the dog or you did.
Of
course you did.
It's like my brother is.
I think it's just great then.
He has a personality and emotions and like moods. And,
so you were happy that your brother was accompanying you, and I think it was great. But what do you think you will share? For example, if somebody wants to travel to Europe now, what do you think will be your recommendation and advice to them?
All right, so travel to Europe. like find some place, find somehow to stay economically. But this is in general everywhere.
Yeah.
I like research. It depends on what you want. If you want like nightlife, or if you want to like speak with the local people, or if you want to see like history and culture and museum and
Let's stick to history and culture.
So research like don't settle on a city, don't settle on a place and then find things to do later, but like start finding the interesting places.
Yeah.
Like like what museums you want to go to, points of interest, maybe sites, experiences.
To do your own research.
Yeah, and then like and then choose a location and then period and.
What's the best season to go visit Europe? Which part of the year?
It's a pretty tolerable climate, but if you're going not in summer, definitely something warm, and definitely something against rain. So
you just have to be careful.
Yeah.
Picking up on what part of the year you actually want to travel to Europe. I think that's great.
English, some way to communicate. This is absolutely most important.
Yeah, the language.
English is if you have English, then this is super important.
All right. So you need to speak English. That's what you're saying.
Most people in Northern Europe possess very good English. In Southern Europe, it can vary a lot.
But this is something I've heard. I've been to Europe too as well. But what I've heard is that there are a few European countries which do not like people who speak English. Is that true?
Yeah, like for example, Germany is a very
France.
very like France of they're very like their own country.
Yeah.
And
so how do you communicate? I mean, God forbid if I have to go to Germany. I mean, that's the only language which I know.
They do have you simply have to find the people who possess good English knowledge, but this shouldn't be a problem, especially with the younger people today.
Wow, that's wonderful. But thank you very much, Vasily, for joining us. It was wonderful to have you and to kind of talk about Europe, because that's somewhere everybody wants to go these days as soon as the COVID restrictions are going to be off. But ladies and gentlemen, today we actually have an amazing announcement to make, because it's somebody else's birthday today as well. You know, we are a larger population. Every day somebody has got their own birthday as well. So we're going to actually kind of sing the song. I mean, a 34-year-old male guy singing birthday songs on morning show, I think it's a little absurd, but I'm still going to do it because it's going to make somebody happy at the end of the day as well. So ladies and gentlemen, it is Zaryab's birthday. So Zaryab, happy birthday to you. Oh, Zaryab is actually not too young too as well. Happy birthday to you. May you have many more. And I don't know how you're going to think about me singing you the song. Happy Hajj Zaryab. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us today. Earlier in the morning, for everybody who's out there, please remember me and my entire team and all Pakistanis and everybody out there in your prayers as well. Write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of World This Morning, down on your screens. On Twitter, it's World This Morning without a G. On Dailymotion and YouTube, it's World This Morning. And on Instagram, it's World This Morning PTV World. Please make sure that you give us your feedback. 1, 2, 3, good morning.